events, and both these reports come up with dates that are the same, and it just so happens to be this November. I don't think it's the same because of the elections. I don't think we're going to insult the Mayan calendar because of that. I don't think you'd want to slur the calendar with politics. I think probably it was very predictive of a period of time of November 2010. That date's being popped up now, and it's going to be kind of interesting because there's a lot of stuff that's going on. See, November, Clay, what is known as the 6th night of the Mayan calendar ends and the 7th day starts. So that transition, during that transition, all hell's going to break loose. According to the calendar. And interesting, independent of the calendar, the WebBot report picked the first week of, I think, the 8th maybe. Yeah, the 8th through the 11th is a very interesting time. So, you know, some of this stuff is, I mean, the Mayan calendar, hey, they're used by, NASA uses it. It's going to be quite a ride. Let me give you an example. You want me to kind of give you this?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
The 6th night, which is coming to an end in November, had a theme or a kind of overlap of another period of time in history, and this isn't according to the people writing about it, it's according to the Mayan calendar itself. It reflects something that we all have heard of, and that was a period of time 1962 to 1972, or basically the 60s. And what do you think of when you think of the 60s?
I don't know. I was stoned and I missed it.
There you go.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Anyway, what personage of the early 60s, let me give you this. He was young, charismatic, and had a cult following in the 60s.
Elvis Presley.
Okay. Yeah. And another guy, his name was Kennedy.
That's
young,
right.
Charismatic, had a cult following.
Yes.
Well, the reflection of the theme of that 10-year period of time has been compressed according to the calendar of the Mayans and put in this period of time known as the 6th night, and it was a period that was way before that, but the 6th night that we're in only lasted about 12 months, just a little over a year. But all the stuff that happened from 1962 to 72, if you understand what I mean, not exactly everything. I mean, not everything, like Kennedy was going to be a president again, but I mean just kind of the karma of that period was going to be back in this 12-month period of time. Only all of that wasn't going to happen in a 10-year period of time. It was going to happen in a 1 year. So we've had a Kennedy personage with a young, charismatic cult following get elected president again. Only this time the guy's more jaded. And that's reflective of the fact that we're in the night period, an occult period, who's hiding some really heavy, what would you say,
illegal alien homosexual tendencies. I don't.
There you go. All the very deep, dark stuff. That's because we're in the night period. Well, what happened to Kennedy?
Well, we also let me say I do remember stopping the Vietnam War in the 60s, and the only thing we did wrong in the 60s was a lot of the communists were turning on our troops when they came back. That was wrong, absolutely wrong. It's
right.
not, the troops are following orders, and I got drummed out because I might not follow orders.
Well, the same thing is happening again. We have a anti-war or an anti-illegal war mantra among many people, including a lot of the Tea Party, is saying, hey, we shouldn't be in an illegal war. Now, what else happened in the 60s was that the Catholic Church had some pedophilia scandals, and guess what just broke out? The Catholic Church is in deep trouble, right? The Soviet Union in the 60s was economically entrenched in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Guess who's entrenched in Afghanistan and Pakistan right now economically and many other ways? The U.S. So, the sixth night was a period in that cycle, and it's now coming to an end. And let me read you a quote from the guy that discovered this cycle in the calendar. I think you'll like this. This guy's name is Carl Kalaman. He said, "We should then expect that an even further escape from abstract values will occur in the sixth night. There's going to be a shift that may be expected to be especially severe, and it will hit the Western economies of the United States and the United Kingdom, which remain the financial centers of the world and control much of the bank activities in the world. And at the present time, these nations, especially the United States, are so indebted there is really no need to present an explanation as to why they shouldn't be another downturn. But all this is needed for something to trigger, and something that's going to go. While yet many may see the trigger in a downturn, the media will place all the emphasis on the calendar." Now here's what he said. Anyway, he says, "We may, for instance, ask, what if the major portions of the population, what are they going to do in an economically downturn? How are they going to pay their mortgages? What will these people have when they leave their homes en masse, and the countless drones of people leaving their houses owned by banks empty? This is the kind of situation that has already appeared in Detroit."
It's happening in California too. Whole neighborhoods have been devastated.
Right.
The guys that in the family that's hung in there are paying $3,000 a month for a house that's worth a half of that. It's selling for half of that across the street from them right now.
He said, "This is what we're going to be looking forward to as the sixth night ends and the seventh day begins." And he said, "Hang on, it's going to get worse. It's time for stocking food, getting seeds, and preparing for this transition, which will start November 2010. He's getting all this not by looking at the economy. He's just saying that the economy and all the geopolitical scene is reflected in the calendar. Now, that's not the only place. I've even seen, well, the date of November, like I said, was reflective also in the Webbot report, and it's pretty dire. And I gotta say,
what kind of
it
technology?
looked like an infancy.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it was just looking like a very interesting event that way before our society ever came about was stuck in something called a Mayan calendar that's so accurate that NASA uses it. You gotta wonder where they got the info.
That's that's the question that I was about to interject. You know, what kind of technology did this come from? Where did this come from? How could, you know, sit out in the middle of a field and stare up the sky?